Ready.
Welcome to episode 60 of the Go Get 'em Agility podcast. My name is Margaret Hughes and I'm your host. Podcast 60. Appreciate you all being here and listening and sharing my podcast with others. Comments, reviews, all of it. I really appreciate it. It's been a good couple of years that we've been doing this. Emma is still in the podcast with me, but I've been doing a few alone because I've been doing my foundation series and she's just been very busy. So anyway, she will come back. But we are on the last section of putting it all together. So this is again from my series of my beginning foundation workbook and putting it all together. There are two things in putting it all together that I want to emphasize and just highlight, I guess, not emphasize, but highlight. And one of them is that I think that most new agility folks want to get up to jumping height, their dog's jumping height, too fast. So that's one thing, is that teaching dogs how to jump, some dogs really do need to learn how to jump. And I think all dogs benefit from it, but I also think that it can be a little more intensive than most novice people are wanting. And a little bit more about that in a moment here. The other thing that I think that novice people have a tendency to do is to want to go for full-on courses too soon as well. Beginning foundation agility isn't about just getting the dog to do a course. It's about getting a dog to understand what we want from them when we direct them. And so if the course is in their way, then we have taught them already to go and take whatever's in their way. So putting it together. First off, start taking some notes, because you're going to come across time and time again training gaps. And these training gaps, when you do run a small sequence or even a longer one, but when you run a sequence or start putting multiple obstacles together, you are going to encounter training gaps. You're going to have things that crop up. You're like, oh, I thought he knew that, or I thought she knew that, and they didn't. Or your handling is needing some adjustment or needing some finesse in order to help the dog understand the path that they want. So when we're putting it all together, really take note of things that are going sideways on you. And when things are going sideways, that is good information. We want that information to know where to put our training dollars into. Because agility is constantly about going back and refining, improving, getting more clarity. And then with that clarity comes speed and distance and endurance. Those are the two main highlights that I want people to take away from beginning foundation agility. One, don't come up in your jump height too fast. And there's several reasons not to do that. One of which is lack of clarity, and the other is a lack of confidence. You need to build in confidence and clarity before you can ask for more and more difficulty in the jump height, which affects the jump effort. The other point that I wanted to highlight was not putting too many obstacles together too fast. So not going for a full course, but staying on smaller sequences. I want you to ask yourself a question when it comes to training agility, training all of your obstacles, training yourself, your handling strategies, your handling path, your ability to connect with your dog, your ability to navigate the course. What I want you to ask yourself is, what's the difference between a dog trainer and a pet person, or just somebody that's going into agility? What's the difference between a new handler and a dog trainer? I will tell you the difference. There's a couple of differences, but the biggest difference between a pet dog owner and a dog trainer, a good dog trainer, is the number of hours or minutes or reps that they put on their dog over a long period of time. So when I'm training, when I did my jump training, the initial hardcore focused jump training, it literally took me 60 sessions plus, because I actually have never finished. I keep going back to it. But in recording it and documenting it, I spent 60 sessions working just jump training. Different aspects of jump training, but jump training focused solely on helping Eli understand his job and how he's jumping and how he's jumping in relation to me. And that also highlighted my job, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what I need to keep training, what is natural for him. And within all of that jump training, so 60 sessions of jump training, within all of that were other handling training sessions that I'd done prior to bring us to that point. So we're talking hours of training cumulative over his first 18 months of life. You hear little sayings all the time in the saddle, time in the pool. When Emma was learning to swim, I went to the instructor. She was going to swimming once a week, and mostly in the summer because it was an outdoor pool, so spring and summer. I asked the instructor, I said, what can I do to help Emma continue growing in confidence and ability in swimming? And the instructor looked at me and she goes, just get her in the pool. Just get her in the pool. Let her learn in the pool with you, in the pool with her, and let her learn how to take what I've taught her and put it into practice. So that's what I did. We spent literally probably 4 days a week, we were at the pool when it was sunny. And Emma is an avid swimmer, absolutely loves it. She never joined swim team. I wasn't willing to get up at 4 a.m. But she absolutely loves swimming, and she excelled at it. Her confidence grew. We played lots of different games that, one, we had learned when she was an infant. So I took her to infant swimming school and then continued on. So just getting her in the pool was my instructor's advice. And it worked. It worked. Now, with dog agility and with kids swimming, right, there's an element of danger, right? If you just let her get in the pool without assistance, without guidance, without me being there in the pool with her, then she likely would have drowned, right? I mean, she didn't have such good skills that she could learn when she's tired, that she could save herself if she got too far away from the side. So there was growing and building confidence and building clarity in her swim strokes, her ability to float, her ability to flip herself over. All of the things that we built over time is the same with dogs and agility, right? Keeping them safe on obstacles, keeping their confidence up by not making it too hard. And that making it too hard is probably the hardest difference between a dog trainer and a new handler, is learning how to split behaviors. And when I say split, it means make it easier or make it at the dog's ability. So not necessarily making it easier, but making it at the dog's ability. And when we're making it at the dog's ability, we have to know their willingness to keep trying. We have to keep them in the game. And signs that they're not in the game are sniffing, scratching, looking away, walking away. Stress signals, yawning is a beginning sign of not being in the game. So even though dogs may be showing signs of stress, a good handler helps to make it more rewardable, helps to make it more in line with their drive and their willingness to stay in the game. So it's really important to learn what your dog's stress signals are. And there are some stress signals that Eli still gives me that he showed me at the day I picked him up. So the day I picked him up, he would sit when he was stressed, he would yawn when he was stressed, and he still does those behaviors today. So reading that and understanding that those stress signals play a direct role in how well you do on course or how well your dog is able to listen to you. Are they looking around? Are they distracted? Are they wanting to exit the ring? Are they just distracted by what's outside of the ring? So all of those things start to play together when we're putting it all together. And if their skills in their obstacle behavior is precarious, if it is not solid, then the ring stress alone can make the jump effort or the weave effort or the dog walk effort or the teeter effort fall apart. All right, what else about putting it together? Once the dog understands their job, their obstacles, agility really does come down to handler training. And this is one of the parts of agility that I absolutely love, and new handlers almost absolutely hate. Because now we get to work on them and their timing and their footwork and learning how to drive a dog to an obstacle that isn't fully committed, right? There's this stage in agility where the dog knows everything. The handler is getting pretty good at their side changes and understanding where to put the side change and how to do the side change. But the dog isn't willing to take care of the handler. So if the handler pulls off just a hair too early, the dog pulls off too. And so that's commitment training, right? That's dog training right there. But in the beginning, when we're starting to sequence and we're starting to put it all together, there is a time period, and it varies on the dog, varies on their drive, it varies on their sensitivities, it varies on their training. There's a time period where the dog won't help the handler. So the distance training can fall apart, the commitment training can fall apart, and the ability to read that, a dog isn't on the correct line and they're not going to go to the obstacle, is a really hard skill for handlers to learn. It takes time. And this is one of the reasons that I absolutely love videoing, because if you have your video in the right spot on tricky sections, if you have your video in the right spot, you can see the moment your dog doesn't commit to the obstacle. And what I like to do is to play back that moment in super, super slow time and watch my body positioning, my eyes, my hand, my feet. At what point did my dog not grab my cues? And at what point did I start to release my cues to go someplace else? Right? And this can come down to commitment training. It can come down to opposing motion training. As long as the dog seriously understands the skill, right? They're not avoiding their jump. They're not avoiding a dark tunnel. Then the handler needs to help the dog in that interim. And how long that lasts really depends on the dog. The slower they're driving, the more usually the longer it takes. And with those dogs, so when I'm looking at, I have to keep helping my dog to a jump that's further out. I need to help my dog on an opposing motion jump. I need to help my dog on their contacts. Those are all spots that I would go back in and do them over and over and over again over a period of time. So if I notice that I had a distance problem, then I would start working distance once, maybe twice a week for just 5 minutes a time and see what happens over a month or a month and a half. Same thing with my contacts. Go back in and rework the contacts, take it right back to where it's falling apart, take it right back just before that, and start rebuilding that contact behavior a couple times a week, not every day. Do not drill. I'm telling you that drilling weaves every single day before a trial is not going to help you on trial day. Not if your dog has a stress problem, not if your dog has a clarity problem. Take it slow. Don't put them in the trial. If you've got a weave pull problem, pull them out for a month and a half. Do some just training at home, maybe some fun matches or some practice with friends, but don't put them back into the trial environment until you have a little bit more solid history on driving the weaves from an obstacle or from whatever issue you're having. Get creative with how to address it. And just putting them into the weaves is not always the best way to go. Sometimes it's better to put in some distraction training on a short set of weaves than it is to drill 12 poles over and over and over again. So get creative in your training. Don't be boring. Weaves are really, really difficult. Don't be boring in the weaves. Be excited. Keep them short. Keep them fun. Practice difficult stuff, easy stuff. Let the dog win over and over and over again. Same thing with your contacts. They're not easy. Not running or stop. Both of them require training. And over time, you're going to have to go back and reintroduce the contact training again, because it does fall apart from time to time, especially under ring stress. My last big takeaway that I want you to have for putting it together is start focusing on your job. Start focusing on the handler's job of helping the dog get around the course. Once the dog understands their behaviors, it's almost a guarantee. I mean, I literally would put some money down on some of these dogs that when they're making mistakes, it is a direct result of the handler. Knock bars, wrong courses, refusals, turning the wrong way off of a jump. There's something in your handling that is causing that, or possibly in your training. But when we start looking at putting it together, we really need to start looking at what the handler's doing and start honing in on all the ways that the handler is affecting the dog's path, direction, speed, all of that. So video. Did I say you should video everything? Because you can gain a lot of information from watching yourself and how you're handling to help your dog. Slow it way down and notice that the moment that your dog disengages or engages, right, what are you doing? Learn from that. Take some notes. Like, oh, man, he really responded when I did X, Y, Z. So pay attention to videoing. It takes a while. I can't remember who said this, but somebody said, watch your video 3 times. Oh, I think it was Kara. It was Kara from Startline. She said, watch your video 3 times. The first time to notice how you don't like how you look, or the outfit that you chose for that day, or the way that you sound. That could have been 1 and 2. Watch it once to not enjoy what you're looking at. The second time, watch it for what... Oh, I can't remember what she said. But anyway, she said watch it 3 times, and on the 3rd time is when you can really get down to what's happening in the video, behavior-wise, both for you and the handler. And I watch my videos several times. I mean, over and over and over again. And it did take me a while to get over the sound of my voice. It took me a while to get over the outfits that I was wearing, whether or not I even wanted to post those outfits online. But you do learn from watching these videos. And so I really, really encourage you to do that. And when we're looking at handling, what side change to do, where to be when, learning when and where and why to do a side change comes with time. It does. It comes with time. It comes with understanding how the dog reacts to your behavior specifically, because it can be very handler-dog dependent. But one of the main things that folks have a tendency to start to do is they start handling for the obstacle. And what I want my handlers to do is to handle for the path. So that is where the dog gets most of their information, is in between the obstacles, either on the landing or in the middle. If you're giving them information over an obstacle or right before an obstacle, then it's generally for the next obstacle. And if it's too close to where they're taking off, then they can't change it. They physically can't change it. They can't change their speed in time. They can't change their line of direction in time. And so think about the handling path between the obstacles, and for fast dogs, 2-3 obstacles prior. I think that's it. Take notes on all the things that you need to train that are falling apart in either competition or in practice. Keep your sequences short, build up slowly on courses. So one of the things, let me go back to sequencing. A sequence is chaining obstacles together. In sequence 2 obstacles, you can sequence 25 obstacles, right? But keeping your sequences somewhere between 3 and 6 obstacles will generally show you a lot of behaviors that may or may not be going well for you, and highlights moments that need more training on your part, more handling skills on your part, or dog training on your dog's part. Having an instructor tell you that's a dog training problem, that's a handler problem, is really beneficial, but you can also learn that through your video. When we're sequencing, I like to break things down into 3 to 6 obstacles, and then I'll do several things. I will either do a separate 3 to 6 obstacles, or I'll start adding obstacles on before or after my current sequence. So building in some ability to go longer and further. And dogs learning endurance over a number of obstacles is a trained thing. So when we're teaching our dogs endurance, we have to make sure that their conditioning is good. So keeping in mind how much physical effort they are giving, and is our conditioning appropriate for how much work we're asking them to do? Because physically, they need good leg muscles, they need good stomach muscles, they need good balance. And all of that is a direct correlation to our agility. So agility is not conditioning. Agility is physical, all-out exertion, whereas conditioning is honing in on specific muscles to create muscle mass, endurance, elasticity. I'm not a conditioning coach, but I would highly recommend that you look into conditioning and doing at least a little bit to help your dog build in better structure of their muscles and their body for agility. And conditioning can be very simple, not complicated, but it's slow and methodical. It's not fast and, well, it can be fast and powerful, but there's different elements of conditioning, from slow and methodical to fast and powerful. So look into it. It's a great thing. There's lots of people out there that teach conditioning, lots of stuff online. So highly recommend at least get a little understanding of conditioning to help build in more muscle mass or physical ability for your dog. All right, there's so much. I really could go on for hours and hours about putting it all together. But I hope that gives you a little bit of help and ability to keep training your dog successfully, starting to gain more endurance for longer and longer courses as you continue this journey. It is an endurance race. It is not a sprint. Take your time, work just a little bit every day. Every meal, do something. Every single meal, do something. Don't just put it in a food bowl. And whatever you do put in the food bowl is directly affecting how much training you're doing. Because if a lot of food's going into the food bowl, then they're going to get saturated. So use their meals to help train. I want to make one more note about the difference between trainers and new people or even just regular pet people. Trainers do have an advantage. There's no doubt, right? I have access to equipment. I have a ton of history in doing this over and over again. I have seen hundreds of dogs in different capacities and how they react to their handlers. So there is an advantage for trainers. Do not compare your abilities with your trainer. Good trainers have been going to other coaches for years. Right now, I'm coachless. I have no coach, and sometimes I'm like, my gosh, I just want to hire one of my students to watch me, to talk to me, to help me figure some stuff out. Emma and I do a training together, but it is not nearly as much as I want. So there is a huge benefit to having somebody else's eyes on you. And dog agility coaches, in general, have other coaches that they rely on. And if they don't, so one of the things that I do to help substitute my lack of trainer right now is I do seminars, which aren't nearly as beneficial as a weekly coach. Seminars are great, but the instructor does not have the background history of your team, which if you're going to a weekly coach will have that background. And it can take a while for a coach to get that schema. And so if a student comes once and then breaks out of the class and only comes twice a year for sessions, it's hard to build up that dog because you're trying to figure out where they were for the first couple of weeks, and then you've only got a couple more weeks left. So going week by week by week by week is seriously beneficial for the instructor. Not financially. I'm not talking financial. I'm talking the ability to help comes with seeing that dog every week and seeing that dog progress through trials and helping them through trials. So there's definitely advantage for instructors. They've been going to seminars, they've been going to other instructors, they've been doing it with hundreds of other dogs potentially over years, and they have access to equipment. But the main point of my telling you the difference between a pet handler and a trainer is really time in the saddle. Just train your dog. Train your dog. Even tricks are going to benefit your agility. It doesn't have to be agility related every single day. Everything affects agility. Impulse control training, trick training, obedience training, rally training. All of it can benefit agility. And so while I love specific agility exercises, I'm also a huge fan of just teaching something that makes you laugh, right? There are things, I taught my border collie how to put his chin on a cone, and oh my gosh, his eyes when he was doing that was just adorable. One other thing that's really important once your dog understands all of their equipment, and get the advice of your instructor, but I would encourage you to take your training on the road. Start training at different locations on other people's equipment, because all the equipment can have just enough subtleties that the dog questions what it is. So I have a certain type of panel jump. It's not the same type of panel jump that is at a competition. And so once a dog is on multiple pieces of equipment in different locations, then they can start to handle all equipment in all locations. So it's kind of like driving a car. You start on one car, you get really comfortable with it, and when you change to another car, there's a little adjustment period, right? The clutch feels different, or the brakes feel different, or just learning a slightly different configuration for the radio and the wipers. Same thing goes for dogs. There's a moment of adjustment that they do. Understand that they can handle the same types of equipment that look slightly different in a new location. And on top of that, at your home turf, make some of your equipment seem funky. Like I put my weed pole colors, I have different colors for my weed poles. I put them in all different configurations. I want my dogs to see different weird stuff on their home turf, so that when they see different weird stuff at somebody else's place, it's not a problem. All right, you guys, I hope that helps. I think that concludes my series on my beginning foundation. I think it does. If not, I'll throw another one in here. But if you ever have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, happy training. Good luck. Have fun. Woof, woof.